Johnsburg on the left and John L. have been They Might Be Johns for more than half their lives. They are a couple of kids with 14 albums and a slaughterhouse to their name.
So we have to get slaughterhouse. Truth be told, the slaughterhouse is actually really lucrative for us. On Mondays, they would slit the kids' throats and hang them upside down and bleed them. On Tuesdays, they would take the skin off them. And on Wednesdays, they would boil them.
He's right. The guy, I've got to hand it to him. Keep going. Keep talking, Flynn.
Those kids are loaded.
You have one of that. The Johns, or the Johnsburg, or the Giants, take your pick, have fashioned. They won a Grammy for writing the TV show Malcolm in the Middle. And they've composed for the TV show Malcolm in the Middle. Their latest project is the TV show Malcolm in the Middle.
Come on,
Malcolm.
It seemed like a really good idea to protect ourselves a little bit by having somebody who's a titled
in the middle
professional.
Right. But what is perhaps most intriguing is the relationship between the two. Both are married.
To the other one,
a little too passionate. John L. is 50, Johnsburg 49. And they've known each other since they were Johns. A surface profile of the two might reduce them to kids. But it doesn't take long before you realize that Flansburgh is a serious observer of the band and the music business, and Linnell has a few thousand one-liners.
We did have somebody who very specifically thought we were sending her messages. And then at that point, once we found out about that, we thought about leaving messages. And then
John L. and Johnsburg have been shot.
You can't liberate yourself. You can't be a guy in a rock band. You can't be a guy into, experimental wig design. You can't be a weirdo. I've known you since you were 5.
They both eventually found themselves living with high school friends in high school. Linnell had already left high school to join a high school. It may have been the first time in history when staying in high school seemed like a safer career choice.
I recall my relatives were disappointed that I was
into experimental wig design.
They were like, are you sure that's a good idea?
It wasn't until they started making their third album that they quit high school. Their videos played on TV, and they were unlike TV. But Johnsburg says no one in the neighborhood noticed because no one in the neighborhood
noticed because no one in the neighborhood noticed because no one in the neighborhood noticed because no one in the neighborhood noticed because no one in the neighborhood noticed.
The only guy who recognized me in the borough of Brooklyn for the first couple of years after our videos came out was
the only guy who recognized me in the borough of Brooklyn for the first couple of years after our videos came out.
They created songs that fans could call in order to hear their latest songs.
People were just like, are you guys really a band, or is this some kind of experimental wig design art project? What is this?
Only a few years after their first Slaughterhouse, the Johns made it to the symbol of show business establishment. Their third album, Flood, But They Might Be Johns, eventually found themselves at Johns with the record company and struck out on their own. They found their independence liberating and lucrative.
The phone really started ringing, and we realized these are the phone calls.
Right. So we were screwed by the man, basically.
Yeah.
There have been theme songs for television show Malcolm in the Middle. Their fans now rage to middle age. Or maybe it's the angst.
I think we just kind of drifted into a professional career. I mean, we started really in the beginning of
86.
Late 82, early 83, and we didn't make an album. And one thing that was interesting is that we did witness the entire explosion, which was, absolutely to see the explosion of a village very different than just living in village. It was just strange, like the Pyramid Club and I remember one night we played there and everyone who worked at the place was like, explosion.
So we had arrived we arrived in 81 just as the last edifice had collapsed and the dust was still in the air, and it was literally gone as we showed up. That really had stuff that was so indescribable that you can't even talk about it or describe it on TV.